You know, there are hundreds of other employees who worked at the plant. Why were you the first, do you think, to really speak out?
I would say that, yes, you're right. There are many employees who see many problems. The thing I would say to this group, Dana, is that if you're going to blow the whistle, it's not for everybody. You've got to really examine your values. You've got to think where you are in life, who's around you, what your support system is, who's your significant other, how supportive will they be, what legal help can you get if you got terminated, quit, fired, kicked out, no paycheck. How long could you live? Do you have children you have to pay for, other bills? It's monumental. So in my case, I felt after I had some time to digest what was happened to me, I felt that what Bechtel had done when I looked back over the earlier years, the track record of delay, deny, and then not fix the problem, and with all the problems and what they did to me, I felt it was wrong, and I wrote a letter to the Defense Nuclear Facility Safety Board, and if I had to do it over, I'd do it again, because to me it was the right thing to do. But I say now, somebody who may be 35, 2 kids growing up, headed towards college, a lot of bills, you know, you might look at it differently. So it all gets back to your values and what you really want to stand up for, what you really believe is right.
Talk about the importance of having an attorney, or, you know, when did you find Hanford Challenge, and what role did they play in as both a support and an advocate for you during this process?
Hanford Challenge has been invaluable to me because as you go through, I'll answer the question directly. When I wrote the letter to the Defense Board, I didn't know anything. I don't know that I could spell the word attorney or knew there were so many attorneys around. I won't go any further here, but anyway. but anyway, when I had discussions with the Department of Energy, now this will tickle you, the Department of Energy employee concerns people. I went to them and went to a manager named Bill Taylor, who I'd known for years, and said, Bill, let me tell you what happened here. This was on the week afterwards. And I said, let me tell you what's happened to me here. And he looked at it and he said, holy jeez, this is serious. This is the worst case ever seen. You don't want to talk to anybody here. You better go to somebody on the outside. Hey, this is the Department of Energy telling me this. So I said, okay, you know, who do I go to? I don't know anybody. And they said, well, he says, I know a guy named Tom Carpenter. He's with Hanford Challenge. You might want to give him a call. So picked up the phone, called Tom Carpenter, was sitting in my backyard. I didn't know who I was talking to. For all I knew, I was talking to a Bechtel upper manager. So I was very careful with what I said and said, you know, where are you? He says, I'm in Seattle. Well, okay, can you come down to see me? And that following week, he came down right away and talked and laid out a plan for what I should do, listened to it, gave guidance, lined me up with another outstanding attorney who's by my side fighting the state and federal cases, Jack Sheridan. And we're going forward. Now, not only is that technical support, I'll call it, important, but being there just to grab your arm and say, you know, it could be all right. We'll get through this. This is normal. That emotional support, yeah, I can't tell you how much that's worth. Because you live it 24/7. You never get it out of your mind. Anywhere I go in Richmond and run into anybody, the elephant is always in the room. Everybody wants to ask about it. Everybody knows about it, but nobody brings it up. So it's you live with it 24/7, and at times it really gets lonely. I'll tell you, it can really get lonely and get you down. And having somebody you can call or see or talk to helps tremendously.
You had unbelievable national media coverage.
Worldwide. Tom Carpenter has orchestrated Japan, England,
France,
Germany.
It's been huge. You've had agency investigations, congressional hearings, and other whistleblowers coming forward, all validating. I mean, it's been the degree of vindication that you have actually experienced as someone who has worked with whistleblowers for a long time is awesome. It's just unbelievable. But I want to know how do you feel vindicated?
Yes and no. I don't think I would, it becomes emotional. You're living it, so it's hard to separate the logic from the emotion when you're the person involved. Logically, with the VIT plant being shut down and Secretary Chu shutting it down and saying there's massive technical problems, Defense Board saying that, the Department of Energy now saying there's so many technical problems they can't make a cost or schedule estimate, they're just snowed under. Yeah, I feel vindicated from that point. On the other hand, I don't think I'll be vindicated. I don't know that I'd be vindicated until a judge looks at Bechtel and URS and said, you're wrong. I don't know, that could be the emotional side. Maybe I'll grow past that, but right now, so it's a partial vindication.
Yeah. Tom, do you have any thoughts about Walt's experience with, from beginning to end, what it's like for Hanford whistleblowers out there now, but also the degree of vindication he has felt, implications for safety at Hanford?
Well, it's, I don't know if this is on. Yeah?
Yeah.
Bechtel interfered with my microphone.
That's right.
The amount of progress that Walt has made in getting his message out and making an impact on the plant in the public policy, although I can't say I'm really thrilled that the waste treatment plant has, all these design and safety issues and is in shutdown mode because that was what we're going to, how we're going to deal with the tank waste. I'd rather know it now rather than, after the evacuation order goes out, right? So, he is talking about very, very serious nuclear safety concerns. And yes, this industry is entirely capable of ignoring those concerns, and putting money and all that before, and looking good basically before safety, as we have seen in Japan, where the engineers there were ignored on the size of the tsunami wall, which was undersized by half, and the engineers warned them about that. They ignored them, to save $10 million. Well, that accident is going to cost $1 trillion to clean up if they can ever clean it up, and there's incalculable damage to the environment. So we can't afford, right, that kind of thing. But Walt has been vindicated from that perspective, and the courts are a very terrible place to get vindication. Sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the judge. Will he or she let you to a jury? And that's where Walt is being blocked so far, is that the federal courts and the state courts are not even allowing that to get to a jury. He'd win in a heartbeat once it's before a jury. But our system is so set up that you can't even do that anymore.
Yep.
The judges are the gatekeepers for justice, and they can deny it just like that, and they do. So it's on appeal for some of his stuff. I think he will get vindication, and I think he's well loved by the community at large out there, if not in Richmond. He's well received in a lot of other places, and people really appreciate him. So feeling that love is what he's going to have to live with for now, as opposed to judges.
Right.
So, I feel it from the lawyers. It's just oozing off me. On the vindication, the reason I say it's partial is because we really need the WTP. That place, we got to get that 56 million gallons of waste out of the tanks and into a glass form, into a stable form. We need that. The tanks are carbon steel, and if there's one thing I can assure you is no piece of carbon steel has lasted forever. So they're not stainless steel, they're carbon steel tanks. They will crack, they will erode, they will corrode, and we got to get that waste out of it, because once it gets, as Thomas pointed out, it's leaking. Once it gets into the ground, there's no way. They've tried freeze barriers, pumping, air injection, scrubbers. You're just not going to stop it. There's no way of knowing a couple 100 feet down where that little stuff is going, and it's going to head towards the river.
They even tried fruit flies.
Yeah, they tried fruit flies, and this is the fourth attempt by all accounts of trying to build a vitrification plant. So we really need it. Portland needs it for that matter. You know, you're on the line, on the way down, so.
So if, I have a couple questions for you. If you could do something differently, what would it be? If you could go back and do something differently, is there something that you might do differently?
Wow, if I was gonna do something differently, sitting here right now, having thought about it, I think I'd be more vocal. I think I would have been more vocal earlier to say, hey, this isn't right. More definitive, more vocal, this is not right.
Yeah.
But again, it's a hard thing, you know, when you're there, when I'm there, was there, I'm trying to be a loyal employee. My job is to get the plant built. A lot of money, taxpayer money being spent. We're there to make it work as an engineer. You know, it's the old joke with the electrical chair when the engineer gets in. Oh gosh, it didn't work, you're free. Oh no, the wire, you didn't plug it in. You know, the engineer is trained to want to fix things, make it work, get it going. So you're really pulling on the oars to make it work. Not to see that it doesn't work, but in light of what was going on, when you ask the question, you know, it begs the question, what would you do differently with what you know now? With what I know now, I would have squawked a lot earlier. Turning the clock back without knowing this, maybe I would have. I would hope I would have, but you know, it's hard to tell, really, in all honesty, what I would have done with the same knowledge at the same time.
Right.
You really need to examine your values and understand what they are. You want to look at all the facts. Just because you think something's wrong doesn't mean it's wrong. It might be right. You may not have the big picture. But it all gets back to your values. When it's all said and done, you want to be able to live with yourself. You want to be able to look back and say, you know, I did the right thing. Maybe I didn't, you know, write a letter to the president or stand up on whatever, Fox TV, whatever it is, CNN, and give a big speech, but I did the right thing. I told my boss, I told, you know, the boss's boss, whatever. And it could be simple. You know, let's take that some of you are interior decorators. Let's just go with that role play. You're an interior decorator, and you get hired by a car company. And they assign you to the interior group. And they say, hey, you're designing floor mats. Now, designing floor mats for a new car, you know, as an engineer, I'd say it's not the most exciting job. But in doing it, you find out the floor mats are just a little bit big. And by golly, those floor mats, you know, might curl and hit the gas pedal. And they might keep the gas pedal stuck. Now, as that young engineer, let's say you're 25 years old, you see the floor mat's too big, it's gonna hit the gas pedal. Costs millions to change. These are stamped out by the buku, put in cars, shipped around the world, millions for a recall. Do you tell your boss? You made an error in the calculation. Let's even go there. You made an error, and rather than being 29 inches wide, they're 30. And they hit the gas pedal. What are you gonna do? What are your values? What do you stand for? Be thinking of that now, because when it comes up, things will go so fast, you won't have time to be thinking about them. You say, well, who cares about the gas pedal? What a matty example. Well, think of Toyota. Think of the accidents. Think of the millions in the recall to put in different floor mats. So it can be something very simple that you run into. But if you were that engineer and went to the boss and said, boss, you know, I made an error in the calculation. Or I found an error in the calculation. I was checking it, and my best buddy made an error in the calculation. Are you going to go forward and tell your boss, or are you not? So, you know, it all gets back to your values, what you place values on, what you stand for, and what you believe should be right. And obviously the opposite of what's wrong. So I would say, my words, Dana, would be to start thinking about those items today, because you shape the future with your values and your beliefs.
Yeah. Will you join me in thanking Walt and Tom Carpenter for being here?